Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes.
HD.
I hope not. Hello to the guys. Hey, Cameron, how are you?
I'm doing very well this evening. How are you, Sybil?
I'm doing okay. And Ahmed Gordon, how are you?
Doing great. How are you
Good.
doing, Sybil?
I am doing okay. A little worn out by all the news and trying to keep up with all that, but I'm
Oh
doing
boy,
okay.
and not
There is
get
a
in
Yeah,
lot of
trouble.
news. Yeah, there's a
yeah.
lot of
Not
news
get in
going on.
trouble. Don't want to get canceled today.
Not today. Not
Not
today.
today. Not tomorrow.
Not when Reds do.
Yeah.
So how's the weather where you guys are? It is finally fall here in Dallas
Fall
Fort
fell.
Worth.
Fall fell. Fall
Yeah,
fell.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
looking
we're
at
you know what it is, Sybil. Right now we're at that 48-degree morning and 85-degree. Uh
Wow,
it's like
staying
wow.
consistent for me.
it's sending Blake to school. All right, here, wear your jacket, and then he's dragging it on the ground as he's walking outside because it's
That's
85
how.
degrees outside. But
Yeah,
I prefer this weather because, most of the day it's around 75, 71, 70, 75. So I love that kind of weather. I can roll my
yeah.
windows down and enjoy the breeze now.
I did that the other day. I had the sunroof open,
Oh,
and I was like,
yeah.
"Whoa, this is
Feels
nice."
good, doesn't it? Man,
Yeah,
Nice,
yeah. It
cool, and
really did.
crisp.
that
Yeah,
AC
Yeah.
can do a little too much when you're in a car after a while.
right, right. Yeah, it's nothing like the fresh air. How
Yep.
about you, Cameron? How are things in the shy?
Yeah, definitely settling into fall weather, 40s, 50s. Chills you to the bone, it does.
And does it chill
Is
you
that
to
your
the
high?
bone? Is it?
Yeah, I mean, today we had a high of 60, but it's looking to rain this week and bring things back down. So, yeah, we are settling into sweater weather.
Oh, yes. Got a good hoodie time
Well,
here.
I guess we're sweater because it's in the 60s at night, overnight. Like I was up at an ungodly hour, about 3:30 this morning,
Ooh.
and went and peeked outside, and it was because one of the neighbors' dogs, and I was like, "Ooh, it's a little chilly," but it was a nice kind of, like you said, Matt. It was like about 60-ish,
Yeah. hmm
Yeah,
65
yeah.
degrees,
It's
and
not bad.
right now it's about 80 degrees. It's overcast, so we've had some rain, not a lot, but not too bad, not too bad,
hmm
but.
Mhm.
Enough of Sybil's weather talk. I appreciate your indulging me in this. Let's move to the what you need to know. Oh, I should tell folks that Damon is unable to join us. He is in Las Vegas, and I don't think he's lost his shirt,
Viva
but he
Las
certainly has.
Vegas.
He has lost his sense of time and didn't realize what time we were starting Vegas
Of
time.
course
So,
not. Yeah, when you're
yeah,
in Vegas, you don't
yeah,
even know what time it is. They don't have
right, right.
clocks
What
in
day it
Vegas.
is, right?
You
Yeah.
don't know
So,
anything. And the time
so
difference will throw you off.
I've never
right,
been.
exactly. You've never been to Vegas?
Never been to Vegas.
I'll
I've
You
pop
never
my
like
you
Vegas
never had
cherry
one
this
of those
year.
trips with your guys and said,
no.
let's what the heck, let's just hop on a plane and do an overnight in Vegas and
There are talks of a Vegas trip. Yeah.
uh-huh.
Um and usually when I'm out with the guys, the first of all, the only reason why I get invited out with my guy friends is if I have to hold down a tribe of women folk. So that's the only reason why they're bringing me out to Vegas in the first
I
place.
see.
Wait.
Because when I go
Okay.
out, we talk about our
You
feelings. Okay,
Okay.
that's what happens when Cameron comes out the house.
you go ahead, man. You go ahead. I'll wait.
Okay. So let's get into that. I understand we have more important things to talk about than your reasons for going out with your guy friends and what they use you for. But
Mm.
so they bring you out so
Hmm.
that you can hold down the women, as in talk to the women, or
Yeah, so I can facilitate the conversation and then make them look really good.
you're the
Yeah.
wingman for
So you're
everybody.
the wingman, you're the multi-wingman.
Hmm.
You're the guy that says, "Hey, the guy over there, he wants to say hi to you."
Yeah.
Or can we buy you a drink? How about that?
Yep. I also cut lines in clubs. I sneak us into VIPs. I do all
All
the
right.
social massaging.
You
Yeah.
know what? We're gonna make that our question of the day. We're gonna
What's your role? What's your
use
role
that.
in your friend group?
Yep, yep, yep,
Yeah, sure. Group dynamics. Yeah, let's get into it.
yep,
Everybody got a role. You ain't lying though. Everybody got a role.
yeah. And I'll tell you mine when we get to that point.
Oh,
Let's talk about the What You Need to Know newsletter. And Cameron understands his role in the newsletter. He handles politics, and what we all understand is that this is by and for Black people. That's our target, and we want to empower and inform the African American community. And so, Khameron, understanding that in the What You Need to Know newsletter, in the wake of Indigenous Peoples Day, Khameron talks about the legacy of Black Indigenous people. And Khameron, what did you find out?
Yeah, Sybil, it's my grandmother's 80th birthday today, and as I was just going through all of our old pictures, I found just those very old photos of my grandfather's great grandmother, who had hair down to her back, very much looked like a Native American woman. Turns out that she was, and I got to thinking that I bet there are plenty of Black people out there who have those ancient photographs of, like that very ancient grandfather with the heavyset chiseled jaw, who was probably a Native man, or in my case, a Native American woman. And Black and indigenous people have had their legacy erased over time. And as of late, thanks to popular Black indigenous folks, I didn't know Kyrie Irving identifies as indigenous these days.
He does. Mm-hmm.
But they're trying to bring attention to how all of us have a very culturally complex and very culturally rich lineage. The United States in the past has tried to categorize us via the one drop rule, where if you just simply had one drop of Black, you were therefore Black. And I didn't know that cost us damage, not only in separating us from our ancestors, but also separating us from our rightful claims to Native rights and Native land as well. And as I dug a little deeper, I found that Black and indigenous people, Black and Native Americans, have had contact well before Christopher Columbus even came. The founder of Chicago, as most would like to claim him, Jean-Pointe Baptiste du Sable, was a Haitian migrant and married a Potawatomi princess.
All right.
And there are movements going on across the country, throughout Oklahoma, where Black people have secured rights to their native land, where native tribes have sort of loosened their restrictions on who they consider native and who they don't, because they had acknowledged just this cultural mixing between us. And so I wanted to just take this Indigenous Peoples Day to shout out Black Indigenous people, and then also encourage Black people out there. If you're curious, go ahead and pour into your family lineage. See what it is that you can discover, and you'd be surprised.
I understand that, and I've only seen one photograph when I was a little girl, and I wish I could find that photo now of my mother's grandfather, so to be my great grandfather, and he was this was down in Mississippi, and the family name was Woolfolk, and he had very strong Native American features, as you said, the chiseled jaw, the strong face, the long hair. He had beautiful white hair, as my aunts did, my mother's aunts. Beautiful white hair. It was braided, and he had a long braid, and always wore something that was indicative of his Indian heritage. But that's what still sticks out in my mind. And as you mentioned it, and in reading your article, that's what came to mind in terms of. And everybody says, "Oh, I've got a drop of, you see this line down my arm." It's like, right. That's the Indian side, that's the Black side. And we're like, yeah, whatever. But I mean, it very well could have been. It was just, playground talk, that kind of thing. Right. But as you say, this is very interesting. And Kyrie Irving, it represents a modern day Black Indigenous man.
Yeah, Waka Flocka as well.
Is that right?
Indigenous, yes, okay. He does.
I think for me, it's always very interesting because you say how Black Indigenous people were here before Christopher Columbus, and for most of us, we think that how did we get here? We got here because of the slave trade, and so when you say that, it makes me think like, first of all, how did the Haitians get? How did the Haitians get to Haiti? How did who were the Haitians before the slave trade. And that's something that we really don't think about, because for most of us, it kind of begins at the slave trade when it comes to ancestry. When we kind of, try to trace our roots back, it comes from, we were brought here from here to here to here, this port, this port, this port. So to think about what these countries and these islands were like before people came over, that's what kind of threw me off when it came to your story. Because when I saw Black indigenous, I was just like, well, how's that possible? How can that be possible before Black people got over here? So, I thought maybe co-mingling, but then you were talking about, no, before the slave trade, there were Black people over here. And I'm just like, well, darn, okay. And it just makes you, there's a rabbit hole that's attached to that I know you probably went down. But it's just very interesting to think about who was here before the slave trade actually kicked off.
And Khameron, maybe there's a 1619 kind of book in you to talk about that, because I think it's really interesting, and you have some subjects such as Kyrie and Waka Flocka to perhaps interview and get some information. I know that I saw something on Finding Your Roots, and I can't remember the actor. I can see him, but he said that his family comes from Oklahoma, and they had Indian members in their families, Native American members in their families. But his family, members of his family, bought their freedom, and then they were held as slaves by Indians.
Yes, that happened. Yep. And
there's different variations on the theme of relationships between where Native Americans were, they held Black people as slaves.
Yeah, and there were a few more instances of not all natives being receptive to Black Africans. There were, of course, like maroon settlements where Black and indigenous people did live together peacefully. The Seminole Nation, the Palenque Nation. But yeah, there were native tribes who definitely were like, free labor. Yeah, sure. And the commingling still happened.
Of course.
And the native tribes don't want to acknowledge our ancestral lineage because of the ownership of slavery. It became a very sticky situation.
Wow, it's fascinating to me, and I think that and folks will really enjoy it, and especially after we get a chance to read your book on the the Black and indigenous history.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to talk about just like the intersections between Black and indigenous people, Black and Mexican people, even like our Afro-Caribbean people, people who, were very much on these islands well before the Spanish Inquisition. I would love to talk about all of that.
And Med, your people were from Jamaica, your dad, right?
Yeah.
And
so both my parents are from Jamaica. And the history lessons that I get every once in a while from relatives about the island, it feels so much more current. Like it feels like things stopped not too long ago.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, because when the British left in like the 60s, and it was just like, I'm like, that was the 60s. You talking about America, being free from, British rule in 1700s, but over here, it was the 1964 or something like that. Jamaica kind of, broke off from British rule. But before that, you're talking about, people that lived on the island from the slave trade. And why you see so many different colored people in Jamaica, from different races, from Asian to white to, there's different people, and you don't get surprised when you see a Chinese man with the speaking patois. You know what I'm saying? You don't get surprised by that, because I have really close friends that are of Asian descent, but they speak Jamaican better than I do.
And curry goat fried rice is quite the delicacy.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yes.
I think it's fascinating. And I remember I did a story about when Queen Elizabeth died, and how, it wasn't all God save the Queen, that there were a number of countries that were colonized by the British, including Jamaica and India, and how they felt about the British rule. And they were like, on that, she ain't our queen.
It's so weird because you'll have some where the British came into town, like the Queen came to the island, and Prince Charles, they were treated like royalty.
Like royalty.
And like my mother was one of those people that loved the British, royalty. She was enamored with them, and I got, kind of, because of it, I loved Princess Diana growing up because my mom would always talk about, the royals and stuff like that. So it was something that was, just kind of part of my life because of how she grew up.
Yeah, sure. It does. And certainly, I remember watching The Lone Ranger with my mom when I was a little girl, and she's like, don't believe any of that stuff. As a matter of fact, and she's the first one that told me that the Lone Ranger was a black man. And I was like, for real? And, and I've had other people, historians, like our friend Kevin Woodson, say, yeah, that's the truth, that the Lone Ranger was a black man. And in the comics and in the television serials, they flipped it around and made the white man the Lone Ranger and his faithful, Tonto. So
we're getting them back now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So good job, Khameron. And like I said, I can't wait to read your book on this. Speaker of the House race contest still going on. House Republicans met last night to discuss possible rule changes meant to prevent a repeat of the January process that required 15 rounds of voting to elect Kevin McCarthy Speaker. Republican lawmakers will return this evening to hear from the candidates hoping to replace McCarthy. Those are two GOP representatives, Steve Scalise of Louisiana and Jim Jordan, one man who has never found a suit jacket that he likes, apparently, of Ohio. Democrats will also meet and expected to unanimously back Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. And this is really a formality since the Democrats do not have the votes to pick the speaker at this point, unless they can talk some of those more centrist Republicans who don't like Donald Trump, who don't like Jim Jordan, not crazy about Steve Scalise, and the prospect of Kevin McCarthy coming back is not attractive to them either. Unless they can get, a few of those guys and gals, then the Democrats are going to be the minority party again. And of course, this all started with Matt Gaetz, who was the one person and in the agreement made with Speaker McCarthy that we'll put you in that position if you agree that it'll only take one person to remove you from office.
He pulled his card a little too soon. In my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it's going to cost him.
Exactly. So those are a couple of the things that we talk about in the What You Need to Know newsletter. If you'd like to subscribe, please go to SybilWilkes.com and give us your name and your email address. We'll have it in your email box every Monday through Friday morning. And that's just a taste, just a smidgen of what we have in the newsletter. So check it out, please. And also shout out to Black Health Matters, our partners there, continue its focus on breast cancer as we observe Breast Cancer Awareness Month. All right, so let's move to the what's really going on section. And thanks to Khameron, I switched up the question of the day and talking about how he had never, it started out as we said that Damon is in Las Vegas, and Khameron volunteered that he had never been to Vegas, right? And so he said, well, you never had like a group of your guy friends and you all just, one night you say, what the hell, we ought to go to Vegas. And the next thing you know, you're on a plane and you're staying up all night and drinking and women and gambling and all that kind of stuff. And so Khameron told us what his role is in his friend group. He's the wingman.
Yeah.
For everybody.
The
social engineer.
However, so we call him social engineer.
I like that.
Not only does he, is he the go-between between his male friends and the women that they may like. But Khameron, you told us some other things that you also do when you're with them.
When there are any sort of obstacles, if the line in the club is too long. I remember one time very brief story, it was freezing cold outside and we were trying to get into this club, like very popular up and coming hip hop club. and there was a group of women behind us, and it was one of their birthdays. And I said, look, this is what it is that we're going to do to get you into this club. I'm gonna take you up to the bouncer. You're gonna say that it's your birthday, and you came all the way from Minnesota to come to this club, and you brought your cousins, us, with you. And she was like, it's not gonna work. I'm like, yes, it is. And so we went to the bouncer, and she put on her best waterworks, and we got in. So those are the things that I do when it comes to going out with my guy friends. Because otherwise, when I go out, and when it gets to the wee hours of the morning, I start talking about our feelings. All right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So how do you feel? How do you really feel?
Not how do you feel? Are you up to driving home? But
No.
deep down inside,
Deep
man,
down
how you
inside.
doing?
Right. Yeah. How's it going?
You drank a lot tonight. Are you okay?
Yeah. What's that about?
Cameron said, I'm gonna get y'all while y'all vulnerable.
Right.
Talk to me, friend.
Get some things on you.
Yeah.
So
like
that's
what I
the
see
question.
right now.
What's the role that you play in your friends? And Khameron has a very wide range.
Manager,
role.
publicist. Khameron handles VIP. He's like, hey, we're gonna have a good night tonight, guys. Don't even worry about it. We're gonna get you guys in.
I got
we're
this.
Gonna get VIP.
Right.
I got it taken care of. Don't even worry about it.
Okay. It's on Cammy Cam. I don't think
right.
that they call you that. I don't think. I'm just kidding. But but want to know, what is your role in your friend group? I used to joke that mine was to pay bail. That if my friends got in trouble, they knew they could call me to get them out of trouble, and I would not.
That friend.
I would not be the one to attempt to slash the tires of a boyfriend. I would not be the one to drive by the house and then accidentally dent another woman's car. That was not me. That was not me.
You handled the aftermath.
You call me, and I got you.
So
now, don't come with a lecture like, do you know how stupid that was? But that was my role. And I have someone that we all know who said, it's a good thing you didn't come with me, and someone else did, because if she had gotten in trouble the way she could have, I wouldn't have been able to come to her aid, because I would have been, sitting on a stone cold bench with her.
Slab, if you will.
Yeah, right. So that's me. I come with the money to pay your bail, and I can't do that these days, but trust and believe, back in the day, I was able to do it.
Oh yeah, knock them out, knocking these bails out. 1, 2, 3.
Right,
Come on, girl.
Right.
Come on, girl.
Who we have on direct dial, speed dial right now?
Right. Yeah. They already know. Hey, Sybil calling. Which one of her friends? Which one?
Exactly.
You already know which one. Okay. Can you please?
Okay. Oh yes, we do. Yeah, we know.
Thank you. Can you just be down in a minute? Just a defeated phone call. I'm so embarrassed. These are my friends.
These are my girls. Come on.
I'm gonna stand beside them.
Right. Yep. To the very end, or at least until their first court case.
Right.
So, Ahmed, what about? And I'll ask people to let us know what you are and who you are. What's your role in your friend group? Ahmed, what about you?
I was always the ideas guy. I was the creative guy, the guy that would come up with ideas, but also I was the wingman too. But that was only like for specific friends. Actually, my best friend, I was a wingman for him because it was just very easy, and it helped that very smooth little operation we had going on there. Let's see what else. But yeah, that was the main thing. I was the ideas guy. The tech guy, help people out with their stuff, things like that. But I was always and I was a designated driver. I didn't like drink. I didn't trust nobody to drive me home when we went out. I knew exactly what I had to do. I knew that when I got to the club, I took a shot immediately. I took 1, 2 shots at the very beginning, and I was done. Also, I wasn't a guy that held my drink. People be sipping on their drink. And I don't do that. I don't like holding glasses. There's either a shot or I knock down a drink real quick, and I get a buzz. And then by the time we had to go, I was cool.
You're good. Yeah.
The rule was always I was a designated driver. I never got wasted.
How did you know that? How did you glean that information, or that's what you should do?
When everybody around you
I
was
just
passed
don't
out.
trust people when we're going out to drink, because people just drink. And then it's like, now I got it. I can drive. I'm not, no, I'm not going to be riding with you.
Right.
To
Right.
get home. And I want to get home. And then also, I was the guy that be looking around and is like, all right, it's time to go. It's time to go.
Mhm.
Probably some
Yeah,
problems about to start up right around here.
Yeah.
That person's foot got stepped on. Those are some really nice shoes. We probably need to move from this area. Let's get on out of here. You know what I'm saying? So I was that guy. And I like to have my car also so I could leave when I want to. Because I will leave my
Yes.
friends that are drunk and I'll come back and check on them a little bit later. But I'll leave and come back and check on you. I'm not going to stick around if I don't want to be there.
Right. Those are the
Never want to be
those
stuck.
the caregivers. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I'm
Absolutely.
really interested, how will you pass this on to your youngins, and you, Med, having a young son? How is that discussion, or did you have that discussion with your dad, and you knew to do some of this stuff?
No, my dad never talked to me about this stuff at all.
Okay.
Yeah, me either.
Like
Really?
my
Okay.
father never. It was hilarious. My father, I was 16 years old, high school, 16, 17, and we did our senior trip to Cancun.
Oh, nice.
My parents let me go. I went. So I come back from Cancun. I was gone for a week in Mexico.
Uh-huh.
I come back, and all of a sudden MTV has their spring break thing on TV. I was there, like literally, like when we left, that's when they were all coming in. So now it's on TV. I had it on TV, and my dad is in there. He's like, wait a minute. That's where we sent you? I'm like, yeah. You were there for a week? I was like, yeah, I was just down the street actually from right there. And so like my dad didn't talk to me about anything, birds and the bees, drinking, going out. My dad said nothing to me about any of that. My mom was the one that showed me the STD pictures from, she was a nurse. So she showed me the STD pictures when I was young. So that kept me from, really getting into any kind of trouble when I was, because, those are the real cooties. And I'm like, no, I don't want that on me.
Real life.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
My dad told me one thing. He told me, like, on the cusp of going to high school, he said, hey, you have a very dignified air and like a way of talking to people. And he said, use your powers for good. And I was like, what? But it hit me a bit.
Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah, and it hit me later on that, like, when people are out and they're just like, just like having a good time and very unassuming, it can be very easy to socially massage your way into different situations. But I always just try to just, be chill.
Your dad said, don't be a scammer.
It's essentially.
He's like, you can scam people very easily, son, and do very well at it. Just don't do it.
Right. Yeah. But let me put it to you another way. Use your powers for good. Okay?
Right.
Don't be a scammer.
Don't be a scammer out here, scammer. We'll buy it from you talking. Sound like you know what you're talking about. He sound like, I will invest. Yes. Where do I sign up at, Cameron?
Right. Yeah, we don't want no snake oil salesman there. I'm sorry, Yolanda. Janet Ferguson on Facebook. I kept the peace amongst the group. Oh,
someone's got to be the glue.
Peacekeeper. Yeah. Yep. That is true. Janae Brown on YouTube. I watch the drinks at the table. That's a difficult task because I would be the purse watcher too. And so, but watching the drinks at the table, and especially these days, and I was talking to a young woman who was on her way to college this year. I was like, don't leave it, because you don't know these people. This may be your best friend for the rest of your life. But right now, don't leave a drink on the table unaccompanied by yourself. In other words, she says, oh, I got it. No. You watch out and watch her, but also watch out for your own drinks. And
just
you
drink
come
the
back.
drink. Stop babysitting your drinks, ladies.
Right.
Stop babysitting your drinks.
Drink it and then keep it moving.
Yeah.
Watered down drinks, and now they spiked. What we doing? Come on now.
Right.
Drink your drink.
Shanta Brown on YouTube says, I'm the elder, prayer warrior, and shoulder, aka up, mother of my friend group. A lot of that here. Okay.
The spiritual liaison.
Yeah. Dad's Go Clothing on YouTube says, I used to be the driver.
Here's the funny thing about the mothers of the group. You got to be careful. Like they don't always get invited out.
Right.
No, they don't invite out the spiritual advisor.
Like we know what to invite them to. We're gonna get we need them to be there for this.
Right.
You don't want to sully their names either.
or come, when you're just hitting that peak of having fun, and then somebody says, "Come on, time to go."
Time to go. Woo.
Yeah. Abdor Leveteg says the voice of reason. She's on Facebook. Yeah, that's a tough. I had to corral 2 childlike men for many years. I understand what that was. Michael Stalwart says, "Oh, this is real sexy, Michael. The mathematician, statistician, memory recall, and music researcher." Yeah, that's we're gonna need you on Phone a Friend when we go to a Jeopardy or some game like that. Sonia Maples on YouTube. I am the Hawkeye. I see the ish coming. Yes, we need that. Yes.
No,
yes.
But here's the funny thing. It's how you change in your friend group as you get older.
Yeah.
So I have a friend who was the dancer. He was the guy that would go out, he would dance, and would use him as the woman magnet because he'd be dancing. Women would come and be like, "All right, now pluck them." You know what I'm saying?
Here you go, fellas.
But he's like the handiest human being I've ever met in my life. Like he builds stuff and everything like that. So now whenever I'm like, "Hey man,
Mr. DIY."
Right. So this fan ain't working. How do I fix this? Hey man, so that shelf in your house, like where'd you buy that from? You know, I built that. Oh, can you build one for me? Can you build one for me? Do you have any extra lumber around? You can build something for me, sir.
Janice Eatman on Facebook said, "I'm the planner and the convener, but especially for our sister circle. I'm the person who can pull 20 to 40 people together for cultural events, theater, concerts, museum, exhibitions, at all, with a few emails or phone calls." Good for you.
Let me tell you about Janice real quick. Janice is important in all groups, but she's annoying when the event starts because she's on earth and she got to follow the plan. What do you mean you're sleeping? No, I have an itinerary that we have to follow today. We're not sleeping. You didn't go on vacation to sleep. You came on vacation to do events and to stay up all night and to keep on enjoying yourself on this vacation. So you're too tired to even go home.
Janice Eatman, meet Yolanda Starks-White.
Janice, I hope that you have like a protege or someone like a VP that you can ask for help.
Right.
Because that is a very
and in that case,
job.
meet Chica. So that's yeah. Although I got to tell you, Yolanda is one hell of a planner, and she's she's got the big picture. Picture this.
The itinerary is all set up, ready to go.
Next thing you know, you're in Fiji. It's like
Fiji.
Do we get
with
here?
No time to rest. Where do I get my nap? Where do I sleep at? When do I get a chance to sleep and enjoy this vacation?
No.
Shangia, is it Shania Scott or Shangia Scott on Facebook says she is the peacemaker. Shania says she is the peacemaker. And Lynn Sell on YouTube said, "I'm the one to put you in check. Put anybody in check. That's me." And
Let me tell you about Lynn.
Let me tell you about yourself.
Lynn will lose friends and gain friends so quickly. Lynn is the one that people will stop talking to her for about a week and then call her back and like we're back friends again. But Lynn loses friends like by the day and they come back, later on.
But she knows they'll come back.
They'll come back, but they're gonna stop talking to her for about a week and a half.
And they're talking amongst themselves and they're like, "Anybody talk to Lynn?" No.
They will not talk to Lynn for about a week. After that rundown she gives them.
Right. Well, it's time for another rundown, and it's not me that needs it. Charlotte Bowen Bellamy on Facebook said, "When something is going down, I was the one to get us out of there, and the one who always got them on the dance floor." Oh, so you were like
planner.
Right. So you would get them on the dance floor, and then you knew when it was time to get out.
And knew where all the exits were.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's like the flight attendant.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I have a friend like that. He's like, okay.
And is your friend good at that?
Oh yeah. Whenever things get heavy and it's like time to go, she's like, "Okay, follow me." I'm like, "Okay."
Right.
You also need to have the friend that knows how to, the hangover friend, the one that can help with the hangover, the one that helps, what I'm saying? Oh, you're really drunk today. The friend that's strong enough to carry you back to the car. You need strong friends too. Was
that you, Med?
No.
Oh,
I was the one where my friend threw up in my shoe. I'm like, my shoe, man, I'm dying down here. You threw up in my shoe.
Yeah.
I was so concerned.
fun.
He was like, "Thanks for being so concerned about me." I'm like, "How am I getting this
But
out of
you know
my
how much I
shoe?"
paid for these shoes? Manuel Murphy on Facebook said, "I've been married too long. Don't even remember clubbing back in the day. No events do you remember? Not necessarily clubbing, but you know how that is."
Yeah, call the guys up, go to the
Yeah,
park,
when
you
you
know?
married too
Yeah.
long, I mean, he was wild back then. I see you, Manuel. I
That's
see
what it
you.
is. Yeah, I
Yeah,
never
I
had
see
a
you.
life before I met your mother. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. I
Okay.
see you, Manuel. I got it.
Let's move to trending topics, things that are going on. Thanks for participating, and
That
thank
was
you,
fun,
Cameron,
guys.
for giving us
Oh,
that
yeah.
idea there. And while we are at trending, what is trending today? It is Cameron and Quinn's grandma's 80th birthday. Happy 80th
Oh.
birthday! Did she share any wisdom with you today?
Oh, man. There was just so much love and wisdom in this house amongst the whole weekend. And the one thing that she had left with me was, you know, because she had worked so hard to just be that person that our family needed to live the way that we live today. And she, as it was all coming back to her, she said, you know, just save a little bit for yourself.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good tip to have. Yeah. And that could be another good express yourself. What's the best piece of wisdom you've gotten from a relative or an older friend, and that they passed along, or that you have taken and seen them through their experiences? That's really nice. Um, so Americans are still missing in Israel after the Hamas attacks. There is at least a half dozen American citizens who are unaccounted for in Israel following the deadly attacks from Hamas, including a mother and a daughter visiting from Illinois. The mother had taken her daughter, just graduated from high school, to Israel for a visit, and this was part of her graduation present. President Joe Biden said that 14 Americans have already died in the attack there, with the death toll already standing at 1,700 and counting. And the numbers vary. It depends on who
Yeah,
you ask
of
and what
course.
news source you go with. It's unclear if the 6 Americans reported missing in Gaza are dead or alive, but their families are holding out hope for a safe return. And it's very sad. It reminds you kind of and people said it's not fair to call this a 9/11, but it is, in that people are describing their missing loved ones. And you remember the pictures on the fences of pictures
Right.
of all of the people who are missing, and the people would be interviewed by news people and say, "Oh, you would like him. He was a good kid. I taught him how to play basketball, and we're from New York, and I was a Knicks fan, but kids, he's a Kobe fan, that kind of thing," and really humanizing them to the point where it's like, we got to find these kids. We got to find,
Yeah.
this woman who was a Holocaust survivor, or whatever it is. It's not fair that a woman who lived through the Holocaust and raised a family is now being held captive again.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so all of these stories are heartbreaking. The president added in his speech today that more Americans are likely among those who have been taken hostage by the terrorists. And in addition, there's also a 23-year-old who was at the music festival, and it was supposed to be a music festival engaging people in peaceful contact and encouraging peace in the Middle East. And a lot of them were taken hostage: a soldier with the Israeli Defense Force, a 35-year-old father of two, and a 66-year-old grandmother. Um, all of these are their stories, as their families have shared in the news media, are heartbreaking. And
It is my prediction that the United States will convince Israel to stop like the bombing for a
mhm,
little while, just so
mhm.
we can send in SEAL Team 6, get our people, and get out of there.
That's a good idea. And I hope that you're right, Cameron. It, if nothing else, and I know that he has not been able to have that kind of influence among the people in Ukraine and the Russians, obviously, but in their fight. But I think that this is a really good idea, and hopefully this will engender or at least put into place the first step towards peace. As
Yeah.
I talked about yesterday, we talked about the intelligence failures, but diplomacy has not been at work either. And having those conversations, you just don't hear about peace talks anymore the way you used to back in the 70s with Jimmy Carter, and in the 80s to a lesser extent, and then in the 90s. And
it's not a priority anymore.
No, war
And
is
I
where they
remember,
are.
and like you said, it was a priority. I think Michelle Summerall said it. Who would have thought that we'd still be praying for peace in the Middle East? We haven't been doing that. We have that part of my childhood was peace in the Middle. I didn't even know what the heck was going on, but I remember peace in the Middle East, right? And and it is such a, and whenever things like this happen, I always have to go back and read the history of this thing, and it's the context of this is so deep. Like, the only thing that I could say for sure right now with complete confidence is that we're just it's never good to see people killed in the streets. Right. Because usually, and it sounds weird, but usually in war times, there is kind of like some almost like rules of conflict. You know what I'm saying? And killing women and children. Rules of engagement. And seeing people, seeing dead bodies in the street of people getting killed and shot, not military. These are women, children, men that are just living their lives, getting murdered in the streets because of this attack. It's I don't care what side of this you're on, it shouldn't sit well with you. You know what I'm saying?
Just the description, Med, of them talking about the beheading of people, and especially babies and children, is enough to say, God, no more, please, God.
Just stop.
You know,
but my thing is, and I'll always go back to this, is that, you know, unfortunately, this country always has their fingerprints on the problem. And that is always going to be the issue. And the fact that we're not trying to fix the situation makes me feel like there's something else that is going on. Of course, there's something else that's underneath this thing. But of course, when you're hearing about Iran and China and Russia,
and the
all working together
and,
to give the money and the military and the weapons to, you know, Hamas and things like of that nature, and you just have innocent people in the middle of it, innocent people on Israel's side and the Palestinians. You know, so it's just a lot of stuff going on.
And I'm not one to quote Donald Trump, but there are good people on both sides here. As opposed to when he was making that reference during the hatred time in Virginia. But there was something about, I'm sorry, say again.
I was going to say, just like, what really blows my mind is that like this is the Holy Land.
Yeah.
You know, this is like the crucible of like civilization, you know, where like Islam and Christianity, where
the thing I'm about to say, Jesus ain't in this one at all.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Literally.
And that's what really just like blows my mind about it, is that like this is supposed to be the Holy Land. And
this is where, you know, we talk about civilization beginning in Africa, but for Christianity, we're talking about this is the ground zero.
You look at the map of that area, every part of the Bible is right there.
Yeah, when you talk about Bethlehem, when you talk of
right there,
Jerusalem,
everything's right
and
there.
If we spill blood in the Holy Land, like, is there anything that is sacred anywhere on this planet anymore?
Well, I mean, most, if you go back into history, most wars are kind of kicked off because of religious beliefs and things of that nature. You know, blood because of religious beliefs has been going on for as long as time. You know what I'm saying?
In the Bible, there will always be wars and rumors of wars.
Always. Over gods and beliefs and things like that. It's always going to happen. But my thing is it just feels like this could have been settled a while ago. And the powers that be don't want it to be settled.
So that's what I was going to say, that over the weekend, when the first time that President Biden spoke to the country, and he had the Secretary of State there, and there was all this discussion, and rightly so, not so much, it was kind of bubbling underneath about the intelligence failures. And the Secretary of State looked like a deer caught in the headlights, as if he said, oh, I'm in some deep stuff now.
Yeah, how did you not know 10,000 rockets were going to be fired?
Right. Right. And as you both have said, how did we get to this point? How did we
Right.
get to this? Where was the diplomacy? Where was the intelligence? Where were you doing your due diligence as Secretary of State, as the head of the CIA, to do and to find and to keep your ears to the ground when these things are escalating? It wasn't as if the Hamas group, said Friday night, you know what, we ought to just cause hell in Israel.
Yeah, absolutely not.
I'm sorry, but when you pull up to a fence with a bulldozer, you
Yes.
can't tell, and there's people are filming it. You can't tell me.
Paragliders.
No, when I saw the paraglider coming in, I'm like,
that was it. Oh shoot!
I was like, Iran didn't send that much money, huh?
Right.
They did not say, because y'all.
They're like, we're going to get in whatever way we can,
And nobody from like the global satellite feeds were like, why are they just on this mountain with a bunch of paragliders?
Things all of a sudden, you go into radio silence.
It's crazy, man.
Doesn't make sense.
But maybe you guys know about this. They're saying that there's some kind of political thing going on in Israel, where there's like because is Nettie?
Yeah.
Is Nettie still in charge? Is he still in charge, or is he out? Like what?
No, he's as far as I know, he's still in. I haven't seen anything say that.
I'm just saying that I've been hearing about. I've been reading about the protests that's been going on about how people are being treated. It like things are kind of getting extreme over there. So there's a lot of stuff going on over there that we're not hearing about.
Right. He's been tried, and I think he's still on trial for a number of things, including fraud and some other charges. And he's also trying to move the country further to the right in it's very Donald Trump-like behavior because he's trying to make the judicial branch very conservative and move them more and more to his very conservative way of thinking. And so between all of this, being on trial, he's moving the country further to the right, and a pretty I wouldn't say, well, let's just say a middle of the road to a more politically astute country like Israel is. There's a lot of pushback. There's a lot of contretemps there, and so it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out, and who's going to win, because that's the bottom line.
There is no winner. There's no winner in this. There hasn't been any winner in this. I mean, to be honest, I guess Israel's been the one.
Not in 75 years.
Like, I guess Israel's the one that's winning, I guess, in perception, because they're the ones that control the land. But like,
Iran is the one that finances Hamas. So yeah, I mean, whoever bankrolls the operations, they typically win. But,
well, United States is bankrolling Israel, and Iran is bankrolling Hamas, and the Gaza Strip with the people that live there are getting bombarded all the time. So it's just like, what are we going to do about that? It's just, again, I feel like this, between the UN, United States, everybody around the world, this should have been handled a long time ago. The line should have been drawn in the sand. Territory, borders should have been put at place, which I heard was done. They had that. And
they had a two-state agreement.
The UN, like the stuff that's going on in Israel and the Gaza Strip right now, that's illegal by the UN standards, but nothing has been done about it.
Right.
So I'm just confused.
And we are not going to be not feeling the effects of this, because if you all notice, the gas prices had gone down recently, and now as a result of the Middle East crisis, they're going to say, we have to charge more because of the war. And so if you were able to, like I was able to get some $3 a gallon gas the other day.
$2.91 down right by my house. I know it's about to go up to like 3 something tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. So tonight you may want to make that run and see if you can still get some of that if it hasn't gone up already. So that's part of the discussion that we're having, especially about this. But also, Med, something that we talked about in one of our news services was that Walgreens pharmacists on strike, and someone mentioned that last night when we were talking about the different strikes, and they have real cause to be on strike, and this may be something we won't have time to discuss tonight.
My buddy's a manager at Walgreens.
Oh, so did they have that where the pharmacist went out?
He said it's been like mostly like a New York thing, but he said that there were some pharmacists at his store that walked out in solidarity with them. And he was like,
they say that they are overworked, underpaid, and they're fed up. They're not being paid enough. They have
they are
12 hours.
overworked.
And one person on duty, and
Yep.
for a 12-hour stance, and this follows CVS that had people walk out just a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So keep an eye on that as well. Those are the kind of things we talk about here, and obviously get into some pretty good discussions in trending. But let's also move to entertainment, as this is a really interesting situation. AT&T has developed a program in which they are appealing to HBCU students to apply and be a part of this program. It is, where am I? Okay, so it's called AT&T Dream in Black, supporting HBCU students with Rising Future Makers Showcase. And it's pretty spectacular. I saw this online, in which they say that it is an endorsement of an initiative for young Black professionals, but even more admirable when they continue to do the work to support their success long term. And for another year, AT&T Dream in Black is doing that with their Rising Future Makers Showcase program, and they're currently looking for their next set of deserving superstars. Over the last 2 years, the program has honored a distinguished group of students from historically Black colleges and universities who are giving back to the culture and their communities and connecting them to even greater possibilities. 50 HBCU students have already participated from 14 institutions nationwide, and this appeal to future dream makers, it's pretty phenomenal. And you can go to att.com/RFM showcase. So that's att.com/RFM showcase. For more information, if you have a student in an HBCU, or you are a student in an HBCU, and I think it goes from 18 to 25, and so it's not your traditional ages of 18 to 21. So please take a look at that. AT&T Rising Future Makers. And the winners will receive $5,000, a 5G enabled tablet with 1 year of complimentary AT&T service, Rising Future Maker letter jacket, exclusive access to industry events, and mentoring opportunities throughout the year. That's key, is getting people who are in those positions to guide them on to their next. Sounds pretty cool. Yeah, so check it out if you have young people, especially that are, you see them as future and rising star makers. So
negotiating that partnership, like among de-escalating sympathy for Black lives. Shout out to HBCUs.
Yeah, so. Absolutely, Khameron. We will close this out with our jewel, Yogi's Jewel. If you are down and out, lonely or depressed, fellowship with loved ones is a recommended medicine. And maybe our talking about our friend groups will make us reach out to those sister friends and brother
ones
friends
that got you out of trouble.
Yeah.
Or ones that held your hair back when you had it and didn't judge you.
Or in Cameron's case, got you into the club and very little damage and
got you your girlfriend.
Okay.
Woo! Okay. Matchmaking too.
Okay. You got mad skills there, my friend.
Come on, man.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you. Great conversation, and we'll see you all again soon. Thanks for joining us. Aloha. Aww.